With us now is Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia. Senator, thank you and welcome. You have a lot of experience in frustrating a president of your own party and, in your case, hardliners to your left. Now, moderate and even conservative Republicans need a crash course on how to effectively oppose a president of their own party when they need to. As your Republican colleagues grapple with not only some wild picks for key spots, but maybe even a demand to skip the confirmation process altogether, what advice do you give them?
Well, the bottom line is we're all depending on them to do their job, the people that they owe their job to, which is the people back home. You know, the president's not your boss. Majority leader's not your boss. And no one else up here is your boss except the people you work for and who sent you there to do your job. And the job is separation of power. Be able to speak truth to power, Chris, and do it respectfully. And I've always said this, don't just be against something. If you basically are not aligned with what's being proposed, then you should be thinking about how could I make that better? And if you can make it better and add some value to the conversation or to the ideology or to the process, the policy, or any of that, then do it. But also be true to yourself. You know, I always said if I can't go home, and you know my home as well as anybody, Chris, if we can't go back to West Virginia and explain to the people in West Virginia that I can't vote for it. And they can put all the pressure they think they can put on. But also, I'm sympathetic, and I want to try to help everyone be successful. And I have said this, President Trump is going to be my president, the 47th president. I want him to succeed. And I want him to do it within the confines of our Constitution. When we take the oath to protect and defend, I want him to be able to do it. So it's going to be good for our citizens throughout the country in West Virginia. But when I think it's going to be harmful, or I think there might be something he should consider, I'd be able to talk to him about it. And that's what I tell all my colleagues. Be able to speak truth to power and do it as respectful as you can with input on value.
You're an independent now. And you had a flirtation, or they had a flirtation with you on no labels, right? For running for president and all of that stuff. Everywhere I go in America, what do people ask me? What about a third party? What about another thing? What about another thing?
Yeah.
You've been sniffing around this thing now for a good long while. What are the chances that we do see another party or another way in American politics?
Well, I've always said this, Chris. I belong to the American Party. The D and the R side of the American Party has different ideas, hopefully, of how to fix and keep the American Party strong. That's not what's happened. Now you have a duopoly. You have a business, absolutely a business model of a Democrat business model and Republican business model. Both business models are spewing hatred and division. They attack the other and make you more concerned or more frightened of the other, and you better join my side, and vice versa. That does not fix our problems. It does not keep our country the United States of America. I know there's a need for a third party. I was absolutely interested in participating myself or helping any way, shape, or form have a strong third party. And to be able to show the strength, it might have been someone who was a former Democrat, someone who's a former Republican, running as a team. I thought that would be very attractive in this most divisive times that we have. And with that, no labels, I've been with them from 2010. When I first got here, they were the only organization that gave me any respite whatsoever to be able to talk to former Democrats and former Republicans that got disenamored with what the direction the parties were going. So I was always in that movement, if you will. Then they were deciding we're going to do something. I said, fine, you got to get on 50 ballots. I am not going to be involved if I'm going to be a spoiler. I'm not going down in history that I threw the election one way or the other.
Yeah.
At that time, it was basically a Joe Biden, Donald Trump rematch. And I said, I don't want to be in that position. And I said, I'm not interested if we're not serious about winning. And you can't be serious about winning unless you're on 50 ballots.
Yeah.
The only other organizations on 50 is the Libertarian parties. I understand they're on all 50 ballots. I think I'm right on that. I could be maybe missing a few states. But they had a whole different ideologue. So I don't know what has to be done here, but we've got to, the only way you're going to change the Democrat and Republican Party is to challenge them. To challenge them. You're going too far to the extreme. Both of you are going too far to the extreme. The Democrats had gone too far to the extreme. They paid the ultimate price at the polling place. And the elections show what it is, Chris. the Republicans should heed that warning. And I'm going to tell you this. The Republicans I've always had confidence in would maintain and defend the filibuster, which I think is the holy grail. It's nothing in Constitution. It's nothing in writing. It's basically been self-imposed on ourselves. It's what keeps us together. It's a 60-vote threshold rule. And that was the Founding Fathers. They wanted the Senate to be completely different than any place in the world, the most deliberate body in the world. And we had to come together and work together, no matter how hot the topic was coming from the House, because it's only a simple majority, 218. If you got all Ds, 218 Ds or 218 Rs, you're going to get a D or an R faction of their piece of legislation. We had to moderate that till all of us could accept it. And it had staying power when it was done. I knew my Republican friends would hold that line better because my Democrat colleagues and friends had already proven.
Yeah.
They would tell, they want it when they're not in power, but when they were in power, they wanted to get rid of it. That's not the way it works.
Okay.
I'm afraid now.
I'm going to,
Go ahead.
I have to turn you loose, but I will say this. I've been covering you, like you said, since before the turn of the century, first in West Virginia, now in Washington, and I know you're, I've been covering you since the 1900s. I know you're not the retiring type. I know you're not the retiring type.
No.
What's next for you? What do you do next?
Well, Chris, I'm not, I don't think, you never say never, but I truly don't believe I'll ever be back into an elected office to where I'm running for something. I really don't want to be on the government payroll anywhere, shape, or form. What I want to do is be able to be an honest broker and talk to my friends on both sides. I don't have an enemy on a Democrat or Republican side that I know of that's elected, or any of the people I work with, because I look at them as equals. And I've never campaigned against a sitting colleague. I've never given money to someone to beat a sitting colleague. I've never, ever involved myself in that type of toxic atmosphere that we have in a toxic workplace. So with that, I want to explain to people that want to be in the middle, people that are putting country before party, people that basically are using whether it be a D or an R by their name because they have to with the process they're in. And when they get here, they have to have support. You come to Washington, you got to pick a side. You can't just stay in the middle. You got to either caucus one way or the other because you get your committee assignments and try to help the people that elected you. I want to make sure they have a home. I don't want them to be threatened every time. Well, you're going to be primaried. You're not a good enough Democrat. You're not a good enough Republican. We can get someone that'll just toe the line, everything we say. I want to make sure that middle has some substance to it. And that's what I'm going to be fighting for.
I bet it will be interesting to see. I bet it will be interesting to see. Okay, America, if you knew that the best chicken wings in North America were at Mario's Fishbowl, you would know him already. But if you don't, there he is.
Oh, my goodness, God.
Senator Joe Manchin.
Here we go. And how about the pepperoni rolls?
And how about the pepperoni rolls? There he is, Joe Manchin. We thank you for your time, Senator.